Friends, many of us go through life without realizing the incredible power of the words we speak. Words are not just sounds coming out of our mouths, they are seeds. Yes, seeds. And like seeds, they carry within them the potential to grow into something beautiful, or sometimes something destructive. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever said something in anger, only to regret it later? Maybe it was to a friend, a family member, or even a stranger. You said the words without thinking, and suddenly, what was just a few seconds of speech turned into days, weeks, or even years of misunderstanding. Those words, like seeds sown carelessly, sprouted into conflict, resentment, or sadness. And the truth is, once a seed is planted, you cannot simply take it back. You can water it, nurture it, but the consequences have already begun. On the other hand, think about the time someone spoke to you in a kind, encouraging, and loving way. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you when you had lost all belief in yourself, a parent who offered comfort at just the right moment, or a friend who simply said, "I know you can do this." Those words, tiny as they seemed at the time, were seeds too. Seeds that grew into confidence, motivation, and hope. They changed the way you saw yourself. They changed the way you moved in the world. Words, my friends, are not just communication, they are creation. This is why I say we must train our mouths like gardeners train their hands. A gardener knows that a seed can bring forth a tree that bears fruit for years, or weeds that choke the life out of the garden. Similarly, every word you speak has potential. Every sentence you utter can either nurture someone's spirit or damage it. Every compliment you give is a seed of positivity, and every criticism, spoken carelessly, can be a seed of pain. And here is something even more fascinating: words don't just affect others, they affect you too. Think about the words you speak to yourself. Every morning, we wake up and begin talking to ourselves. Sometimes we are harsh, sometimes we are doubtful, and sometimes we are encouraging. If you constantly speak words of self-doubt, "I can't do this," "I'm not good enough," this will never work. Those words are seeds too, and they grow. Slowly, silently, they grow into a tree of fear, limiting your potential, restricting your dreams, and making you forget the greatness that lies within you. On the other hand, if you speak words of encouragement, "I am capable," "I will try again," "I can learn and grow," those seeds grow into confidence, resilience, and self-love. You see, the mouth is not just a tool for communication, it is the sower of your life's garden. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who worked as a teacher in a small village. Every day, he encouraged his students. Every day, he planted seeds of confidence in their hearts. One of his students struggled with mathematics and was often ridiculed by others. But the teacher, with patience and gentle words, kept saying, "I believe in you. You are capable. You just need to try differently." Years later, that student became a scientist, contributing to discoveries that impacted the world. Can you imagine? Those words, sown like seeds in a young heart, created a tree that bore fruit far beyond anyone's imagination. Words are also contagious. A single word can ripple through the lives of many people. A kind word to one person may inspire them to speak kindly to another. An angry word may lead to conflict that spreads like wildfire. So when we speak, we are not just planting seeds for ourselves, We are planting seeds for the world. Every conversation, every discussion, every interaction is an opportunity to sow seeds of hope, peace, understanding, and love, or the opposite. This is why training your mouth is so essential. When we become conscious of the seeds we plant with our words, we start to speak with intention. We pause before we speak. We ask ourselves, will this word nurture or harm? Will it uplift or destroy? Will it sow peace or conflict? Because once a seed is planted, you cannot control exactly how it will grow, but if you plant it with care, with awareness, and with love, the chances of it blossoming into something beautiful are infinitely higher. So, my friends, I urge you, never underestimate the power of your words. Treat every sentence like a seed. Speak to others with kindness, encouragement, and honesty. Speak to yourself with love, patience, and hope. Plant seeds that you would be proud to see grow. Plant seeds that can outlive you. Seeds that can touch lives long after you are gone. Because your words are not just words, they are seeds, and the garden of your life depends on them. And remember this, just like a garden, the growth may not be immediate. Sometimes the seeds we plant today take years to blossom. But that does not mean they are wasted. Every kind word, every gentle encouragement, every thoughtful statement is an investment in a future that is brighter, wiser, and more compassionate. Speak carefully, speak consciously, and let the seeds you plant today become the forest of hope and love tomorrow. One of the greatest lessons we can learn in life is that silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is also communication. In fact, sometimes it speaks louder than words ever could. Yet, so many of us fear silence. We feel the need to fill every moment with words, to justify ourselves, to explain, to argue, to prove that we exist. And in that rush to speak, we forget the power of stillness. We forget that sometimes the most profound conversations happen without a single word being spoken. Think about it for a moment. There are times when someone is hurting, struggling, or facing a challenge. In those moments, we often feel compelled to say something, anything. But the truth is, words may not always help. A friend may be grieving. A colleague may be stressed, a child may be confused. What they need most is not a lecture, not advice, not correction. They need your presence, your attention, your calm. And your silence can say, I am here. I see you. You are not alone. That is communication. That is connection. That is love. Silence teaches us patience. It teaches us that not every battle is ours to fight. Not every misunderstanding needs an immediate response. There is a wisdom in holding back, in pausing, in allowing space for thought, reflection, and understanding. When we speak without thinking, we often react impulsively, driven by emotion rather than reason. And the consequences of impulsive words can be devastating. But when we embrace silence, we create a pause where understanding can grow, where empathy can flourish, and where the right words can eventually emerge. I remember a story about a wise teacher and his student. The student was young and impatient, always eager to speak, to argue, to prove he was right. One day the student asked, "Master, how can I become wise?" The master looked at him quietly, said nothing, and simply handed him a cup of water. The student waited, confused. Minutes passed. Finally, the master spoke. "Notice how the water calms itself when left alone. Your mind is like this water. When you stop forcing it with words, it becomes clear. Silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. That is the power of silence. It is not absence, it is presence. Silence is also a reflection of respect. In conversations, when we truly listen and allow others to speak without interruption, we are practicing a form of communication that is more powerful than words. When someone is sharing their story, their pain, or their joy, and we respond with silence, we are telling them, I value you, I honor your feelings, I am listening. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, choosing silence can be revolutionary. It can build trust, deepen relationships, and create space for genuine understanding. And here's something even more profound. Silence communicates inner strength. It shows that you are not desperate to prove yourself, that you are secure enough to let the moment breathe. People often mistake noise for confidence, but true confidence is quiet. True wisdom is measured in the ability to speak when necessary and remain silent when needed. Consider the most respected leaders, the most admired teachers, the most influential thinkers. They know when to speak and when to allow silence to carry the message. Their silence often communicates more than any speech could. Silence also allows us to connect with our own hearts. In the rush of life, we are constantly speaking, thinking, planning, worrying. But when we allow ourselves moments of silence, we can listen to our inner voice. We can reflect on our actions, understand our emotions, and gain clarity about our purpose. Silence is the bridge between external communication and internal understanding. Without it, we risk being controlled by impulsive words, reactive emotions, and the noise of the world around us. Even in conflict, silence can be powerful. Imagine an argument with someone you love. In the heat of anger, words can wound, and once spoken, they cannot be taken back. But a pause, a moment of silence, can prevent damage. It can give both sides space to cool down, to see things from another perspective, and to respond rather than react. Silence does not mean surrender. It often means strength, discernment, and courage. Friends, let us remember that communication is not just about talking. It is about connecting, understanding, and creating impact. And sometimes the loudest, most meaningful communication comes from choosing to remain silent. It communicates empathy, presence, strength, and wisdom. It gives life to reflection, allows clarity to emerge, and gives others the space to be heard. Silence is not emptiness, it is the language of the soul. So, the next time you feel compelled to speak, pause, breathe. Consider whether your words are necessary or whether silence can convey the message more powerfully. Let your silence be intentional, let it be mindful, and let it speak volumes without uttering a single word. Because when words fail, silence speaks. When emotions run high, silence calms. When understanding is needed, silence listens. And when wisdom is sought, silence teaches. In a world obsessed with noise, chatter, and constant expression, let us not forget the quiet power of silence. It is a reminder that true communication is not just what we say, but how we choose to be present. And in this presence, in this stillness, in this quiet, we discover a form of connection that words alone could never achieve. Have you ever noticed how, in the heat of the moment, we often say things we later regret? We let our emotions dictate our words, and suddenly, what could have been a small misunderstanding turns into a deep wound. Friends, this is why I say, Emotion before expression is dangerous. It's like pouring water into a glass without checking if it's already full. It spills everywhere, leaving a mess that is sometimes impossible to clean. Think about anger for a moment. Anger is a natural emotion. It is neither good nor bad. It is like fire. It can warm your home or it can burn it down. But when you let anger speak for you, when you allow it to dictate your words, you give fire a match and walk into a forest. One careless sentence, one sharp word, and relationships, trust, and peace can be scorched beyond repair. You might apologize later, you might try to mend the damage, but words once spoken, like arrows, cannot be taken back, and the wound they leave, it lingers far longer than the moment of anger itself. It's not just anger. Impatience, frustration, jealousy, fear, these emotions, when expressed before reflection, are equally dangerous. You might speak out of hurt instead of honesty, out of pride instead of humility. You might criticize when encouragement is needed, lecture when compassion is required, or withdraw when connection is essential. Emotion without mindfulness is like a river in flood. It doesn't discriminate, it just sweeps everything away in its path. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who was a loving father. He had a son who, like all teenagers, made mistakes. One day, in a fit of frustration, the father yelled at his son, using words harsher than he intended. The son, hurt and angry, ran away and refused to speak for days. The father realized too late that in the heat of his emotion, he had spoken words that created distance instead of closeness. Those words were seeds of hurt, and they would take time, patience, and love to heal. Friends, how many of us have been that father, that son, that friend, or that colleague? How many relationships have been strained because we allowed emotion to lead our speech instead of reflection? This is why training your mouth is not just about choosing what to say, it's about choosing when to say it. It's about allowing a pause between feeling and speaking. That pause is where wisdom grows. That pause is where perspective enters. That pause is where you remember that words are not only weapons, they are also tools for building, healing, and inspiring. When emotion leads, you are blind to consequences. When reflection leads, you see clearly, and your words carry power, purpose, and grace. Consider how this applies in our daily lives. How often do we text or message in anger, only to regret it moments later? How often do we argue with colleagues, friends, or family, only to apologize for saying things we did not mean? In the digital age, emotion-driven expression has even greater consequences. Words sent in haste can ripple across social media, leave permanent records, and damage reputations. The danger is magnified because emotion moves faster than reflection, but the impact of words can last far longer than the feeling that caused them. But there is hope, my friends. The antidote to this danger is simple, though not easy. Pause, breathe, and reflect before you speak. Ask yourself, am I speaking out of emotion, or am I speaking with understanding? Will my words build, or will they break? Even a few seconds of thoughtful silence can prevent irreversible damage. Even a small pause can allow your rational mind to guide your expression instead of your raw emotion. That is how you train your mouth to be not just active but wise. Let me give you an example from everyday life. Imagine you are in a meeting at work and someone criticizes your idea harshly. Your first instinct might be to lash out, to defend yourself aggressively. But if you pause, breathe, and choose your words carefully, you can respond calmly, assertively, and constructively. Your message is heard, your dignity remains intact, and the relationship is preserved. Emotion before expression might have led to a fight, but reflection before expression leads to resolution. It's not about suppressing emotion that is neither healthy nor realistic. Emotions are signals, indicators of our inner state. They tell us when something matters, when boundaries are crossed, or when values are challenged. But emotion must be tempered by mindfulness. Expression must be guided by awareness. The combination of feeling deeply and speaking wisely is what separates impulsive speech from impactful speech. Thoughtless words from meaningful conversation. Friends, remember this: your words are powerful. They can hurt or heal, destroy or create, distance or unite. When emotion leads, they can become dangerous, uncontrolled, and destructive. When reflection leads, they can become deliberate, compassionate, and transformative. The difference is a pause, a simple moment between your feeling and your speaking. That pause is your power. That pause is your discipline. That pause is where your wisdom begins. So the next time you feel anger, fear, or frustration rising, do not rush to speak. Do not let emotion take the wheel. Stop, breathe, reflect. Choose your words. Speak with intention. Speak with love. Speak with clarity. Because words spoken in the heat of emotion may scorch, but words spoken with awareness can illuminate, heal, and inspire. Emotion before expression is dangerous, but emotion guided by reflection is the path to mastery, harmony, and peace. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the words people speak don't matter as much as the way they speak them? You can say, "I love you," in a whisper or in a shout, and the meaning changes entirely. You can say, "I agree with you," with a smile or with sarcasm, and the message shifts from harmony to conflict. Friends, this is why I say your tone matters more than your words. The tone of your voice carries emotion, intention, and energy, and it has the power to either connect or divide. Think about it for a moment. We often focus so much on choosing the right words that we forget the power of how we say them. A kind word spoken with impatience or anger loses its effect. A harsh word, softened by warmth or humor, may be more easily accepted. Tone is like the seasoning in a dish. The same ingredients can taste bitter or sweet, depending on how they are combined. In fact, sometimes the tone can completely alter the perception of your words. A friend, a colleague, a loved one, they may hear your words, but it's your tone that tells them how you truly feel. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a teacher praising a student. If the teacher says, "Good job," with a flat, uninterested tone, the student barely feels the encouragement. But if the same words are spoken with warmth, excitement, and genuine pride, those two words can ignite motivation, confidence, and joy in the student's heart. Tone transforms words into experience. It makes them resonate, linger, and inspire. This is why great communicators, leaders, and mentors pay as much attention to how they speak as to what they speak. Your tone can also be a reflection of your inner state. It communicates honesty, sincerity, and empathy, or the opposite. A calm, gentle tone conveys patience and understanding. A rushed, harsh tone communicates stress, frustration, or disregard. Even if the words are the same, The tone shapes the listener's perception. You may be giving advice, delivering criticism, or expressing concern, but if your tone is sharp or dismissive, the message may never reach the heart. Conversely, a compassionate tone can soften even difficult feedback, making it easier to accept, reflect upon, and act on. I remember a story from my own experience. There was a time when I had to correct someone I cared deeply about. I had the right words, but my tone was impatient, sharp, and authoritative. I thought I was helping, but instead, the person felt hurt, judged, and distant. Later, I tried again, this time choosing my tone carefully, gentle, understanding, and calm. The words were largely the same, but the effect was completely different. The person listened, reflected, and grew from the guidance rather than feeling attacked. That day I realized the profound truth: tone shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. Tone also builds or destroys trust. Imagine hearing the same news from two different people. One speaks with confidence, warmth, and honesty. The other speaks with uncertainty, sarcasm, or aggression. Whose words would you trust more? Whose advice would you follow? Tone is the invisible bridge that connects your message to the hearts of others. Without it, even the most truthful words can fall flat, misunderstood, or ignored. With it, even difficult truths can be embraced, relationships strengthened, and hearts opened. In our personal relationships, tone is often more powerful than words because it communicates emotion directly. A spouse, a child, or a friend may not remember the exact words you said, but they will remember how you said them. The warmth, the gentleness, the frustration, or the impatience. Your tone carries emotion that words alone cannot convey. A simple "thank you" can either feel genuine or dismissive depending on your tone. A simple "I'm sorry" can either heal or deepen a wound depending on how you say it. Words are tools, but tone is the energy that brings those tools to life. Even in conflict, tone is crucial. Arguments often escalate not because of the content of words, but because of the way they are delivered. When we raise our voices, inject sarcasm, or speak with aggression, we trigger defensiveness and resentment. When we lower our tone, slow our speech, and speak with calmness, we create space for understanding, dialogue, and resolution. Tone is the compass that guides the journey of communication. It can turn a potential battle into a constructive conversation. Friends, tone is also a reflection of your character. It reveals patience, empathy, humility, and emotional intelligence. It shows whether you truly care about how your words land, or whether you are merely concerned with expressing yourself. Choosing your tone consciously is an act of discipline and love. It demonstrates that you value not only what you say, but also how it impacts those who hear it. It is a reminder that communication is not about dominance, but connection. So, the next time you speak, whether to correct, encourage, inspire, or comfort, pay attention to your tone. Speak slowly when needed, soften your voice when tension arises, and match your tone to the intention of your message. Notice how your words feel when spoken gently and how they feel when spoken sharply. Observe the difference in how people respond. Your tone can build bridges, calm storms, and create understanding where words alone may fail. Remember, these words convey meaning, but tone conveys emotion. And emotion is what touches hearts, changes minds, and shapes relationships. Words are the vehicle, But tone is the fuel that determines whether the journey is smooth or destructive. Master your tone, and you master the art of truly connecting with people, because in the end, it is not only what you say, but how you say it that creates impact, inspires change, and leaves a lasting impression. Friends, I want to share with you one simple principle that has the power to completely transform the way you communicate, the way you connect with others, and even the way you experience life itself. It is this: before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? It sounds simple, almost too simple, but let me tell you, simplicity often carries the deepest wisdom, because if we train ourselves to speak only after reflecting on these 3 questions, we not only avoid unnecessary harm, we create an environment of trust, love, and respect wherever we go. Let's start with the first question: is it true? Truth is the foundation of communication. Words that are not true are like houses built on sand. They may look solid for a while, but they will crumble. When we speak, it is tempting to exaggerate, to fill in gaps with assumptions, or to repeat gossip that we think is interesting. But words that are not rooted in truth can destroy relationships, credibility, and even our own peace of mind. Imagine sharing something about someone that you heard from others without verifying it. Those words, though small, can plant seeds of mistrust, anger, and misunderstanding. And once those seeds are planted, even if you later clarify the truth, the damage may already be done. Truth, however, is not just about facts. It is also about sincerity. When you speak, are you being genuine, or are you speaking to impress, manipulate, or gain advantage? Words that come from the heart, rooted in authenticity, carry energy, power, and respect. People may forget the exact words you said, but they will remember whether you spoke truthfully. Truth builds credibility, truth nurtures trust, and truth is the first step in ensuring that your words become a force for good rather than harm. The second question is it necessary? Friends, we often speak simply because we can, not because we should. Our mouths are free, flowing fountains, pouring words into the world without much thought. But necessity is the filter that prevents chaos from our speech. Not everything that comes to mind needs to be said. Not every observation, criticism, or opinion serves a purpose. Sometimes silence is more valuable than speech because it preserves dignity, prevents conflict, and creates space for understanding. Consider a moment when someone is upset. Do they need your immediate advice, or do they simply need you to listen? Necessity teaches us that words are precious and that speaking thoughtfully, rather than impulsively, can prevent misunderstandings, resentment, and unnecessary pain. And the third question is it kind? Kindness, the silent power behind all meaningful communication. Even when words are true and necessary, if they are not kind, they can hurt. Think about constructive criticism. You may have an important truth to share, but if your tone, choice of words, or attitude lacks kindness, the truth may never be received. Kindness is the bridge between intention and impact. It ensures that your words uplift rather than wound, build rather than break. A kind word can soothe anger, heal grief, and strengthen relationships in ways that logic alone cannot. Words without kindness may accomplish a task, but they leave scars. Words with kindness accomplish both the task and nurture the soul. Let me share a story to illustrate this. There was a young man who was struggling in his career. He was unsure of his abilities and often doubted himself. One day, a mentor noticed his struggle. The mentor had the truth. He knew the young man had talent that was being underutilized. He also knew that the young man needed guidance, not criticism. So he asked himself, is it true? Yes, he is capable. Is it necessary? Yes, he needs encouragement to realize his potential. Is it kind? Yes, I will speak with warmth and belief, not judgment. The mentor's words changed the young man's trajectory. He gained confidence, worked harder, and eventually achieved success. The combination of truth, necessity, and kindness transformed the mentor's words from mere speech into life-changing guidance. Friends, these three questions, truth, necessity, and kindness, also serve as a mirror. They make us conscious of our intentions. Why are we speaking? Are we speaking to be heard or to help? Are we speaking to prove a point or to create understanding? Are we speaking to hurt or to heal? Reflection before speech is the first step toward mastering our communication. It teaches us restraint, mindfulness, and responsibility, the understanding that words are not just sounds, but actions that carry consequences. In a world overflowing with noise, where opinions are broadcasted without thought, where social media magnifies every careless word, applying these three questions is more important than ever. Think before you speak. Ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? When these three align, your words become seeds of positivity, inspiration, and transformation. When any of these are missing, words can easily become destructive, even if unintentional. So, the next time you are about to speak, whether to a friend, a colleague, a family member, or even to yourself, pause, reflect, ask these three simple questions. Let truth, necessity, and kindness guide your speech. Train your mouth to become a tool of wisdom, compassion, and impact. Because when we speak in alignment with these three principles, we do more than communicate. We create trust, nurture relationships, and leave a legacy of love and understanding. Friends, remember, words are powerful, but words guided by truth, necessity, and kindness are transformative. Speak carefully, speak consciously, speak with purpose, and watch how your words, like well-tended seeds, grow into forests of understanding, empathy, and positive change.